Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's weekend went really good. I got a request from a young man that was talking about he's wanting to play around with the welder. Now, be honest, buddy, I'm probably not the best teacher because I don't know. I just probably not. But I'll tell you a little bits of what I know, and then you have any questions, let me know. Here, let me turn this down. That's too loud for me, I guess. But I'll just show you a little bit. One, I don't know what kind of machine you have. It doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. You've got a voltage area on everything. Some of them may have letters, some of them are numbers, some are digital. They're all different. But this little one, this really isn't. This is designed really for smaller stuff. It'll weld basically anything, but its capability dies out. You know, it says 1/4 inch, and what that really means is when you have your machine set all the way as high as it can go for heat, because this is my heat dial, it's how much of voltage it goes through, so it makes it so much hotter. And what that is in the metal, like this would be 1/4 inch. In the metal, it can. Hopefully you'll be able to see this little wire. It helps burn down into it, this steel here, because the whole idea to weld is to melt this metal to the other metal. So if these were two pieces that I was putting together with this well, basically with any welder, like if you were to weld these pieces like that, you'd want to bevel this. So you'd want to take this thing and make it beveled a little so that the V, it would actually, well, it'd kind of look like this. You know, this would be one piece of metal and this would be the other piece of metal. They'd be touching down here. I'm probably getting a little deep here because I'd imagine you probably won't be messing with this. You'll probably be messing with thinner gauge metals. One, if you can, to alleviate some frustration, is I would try on thicker stuff. That way you don't burn through or blow through. When you get a piece of metal, this is actually still really thick, but when you get into really thinner metal, you can get it so hot that it'll fall out or burn through and so forth. But let's see where. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. You got ding ding here. I should have gave him tons of loving before I started this video. Come on, bud. Come over here. You sit over here on this thing. You stay right there. You stay. Stay. I doubt that works. So I'd suggest getting some thicker metal. That way you can run your machine at anywhere. Oh, here I get back to the machine. You got your temperatures here, and then you have a wire speed. That depends on how fast the wire comes out. Now, when I get up into the little higher stuff, I might ramp it up a little bit, you know, the wire speed. But most generally, I kind of run around 30, and I most generally run in 2 or 3. I don't even know what heat that is, I guess. But what happens when you're running in a hotter speed up there is, let's say you're with this thinner. I wonder if you can see all this. You run into here. I should grab another little piece of this thin. Nah, I don't have to. When you're running hot, I guess I'll say, and you're using a thinner material, that's when it really wants to burn a hole through. And I might grab some dingy stuff to try to use. So this is not a tutorial. This is really bad. But I showed you the other day, you got to stick out. This is a little long, but you per se want to keep this end that far away. This is a little long, not much, but to keep that far away from whatever you're trying to weld. Okay, so you'd have a stick out so far. You'll learn later that all this really comes from technique. So truly, you just need to practice. That's really all I can say to somebody that's wanting to learn how to weld is you just practice, because there's so many like styles or techniques to use. And I find that technically, let's say I was just to weld this, that one style might not be the perfect. You might need 2 styles here, 3 styles. But well, I'm sorry, you're going, let's say you were working on a tiller the other day. So, not that you're going to weld it, but that tiller metal is probably this thick right here. I can't remember what this is, 16 gauge, 11 gauge. I don't remember what this is, 14 gauge maybe. It's real thin. But let's say you were going to weld two thin pieces of metal together. I wish I'd have brought 2. We'll pretend this one and this one's thin. Now, this wire, what you want to do is try to make sure that it stays right in the crack. Okay, so there's these 2 going together, so you'd want to make sure that wire is right on it. Now, like I said, I run a little hot, and even when you're running cold or colder for thinner metal, it can still burn through. And as you go along, you can't. See, this is why I'm not a very good teacher. First, I'm going to just tell you some fundamental things. First, whatever you're going to weld and so forth, let's say this is what you're going to weld, don't start up here, okay? Start, let's say, right here. And as soon as it says, starts to go, then pull up and start your puddle. If you start right here and say, this up here is what you're going to be calling cold, and it won't be melted in right here. So if you start, this is where practice comes in. You wouldn't start back here. You can, and it just is, but start back here and then push it up. So it'd be starting here and go up into here. Like I said, you want to keep this, basically this metal, or the main glowy bulb, the plasma ball, right in the center. On the thin stuff, you may, I don't know what you call it, maybe whipping. You may, because I use all kinds of different stuff all at the same time. You started, of course, here and said, and you start noticing the glow. The more you get used to welding, the more you start to see when it'll fall out, or when it's a little too cold, all kinds of things. Maybe which side this glowy thing, you might need to pull the glowy ball over on this side or this side. It helps distribute that heat so that it don't want to fall through. With a MIG weld, or I suspect about any, maybe not a TIG. A TIG's a lot different than these and stick welders, but you're playing with one of these. So you might turn around and start here, come and say it's a little hot, and be doing this motion. So you'd be pulling out of your puddle, and so it, let's say it's going yellow and then goes down to red, and by the time, and it's fast, it goes real fast. So you can say, like this, and this is about the speed you might want to go. And what that does is it's kind of like pulling the trigger and letting off the trigger. Some really thin metal, not this stuff, but let's say a car body would be pretty thin. But you can still turn these welders down, and you can weld them pretty good too. But you can blow through. It's mainly you can just whip it. You can say whop, whop, whop. Just stay on the trigger. You at times, your stick out, you may find yourself crammed in, or you may yourself find pulled out. This is a little too far. I'm over exaggerating like a bunch. By here, it'd start to goober globber and not work real well. If you were welding, let's say this thick metal and this thin metal, hopefully you can see both those, let's say together. So this is laying up here, stay somewhat basically off of this metal with your little glowy thing, because you want to weld them together, so you might stay more on this metal, meaning the little glowy ball is crowding this side of the line, so it's more on this than this, and you use a sweeping, so you're burning this one or melting this one a whole bunch, and then swinging over here to push the puddle of gooey gunk over to this one. It's not like you're holding clear off over here. It's just, let's say right here, it's still on the line, but you're holding more to this line. What I mean, hopefully, the line being these two pieces put together, you know, that's the line. So you'd hold more over here than over here. So it just, I don't know. See, I'm not very good at this. Let me try to think of some other thing. Let's say, now I'm trying to think. Really, your welding machine should sound real smooth. Meaning they say the sound of bacon, so it's not. So it just sounds consistent, no matter how loud it is. Where it's lots of popping, well, if it's going pop, 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 I suppose I could example, but I'm sure if you've been playing with this, you know all kinds of examples. When it's going, just sounding real smooth, well, it's sparking real violent, but that means you're going, the machine, the heat, everything's working good. But I'm just not very good at maybe explaining things. I really am not. Gaps are pretty easy. Like, let's say that's a pretty good gap, you know. I mean, pretty near this whole thing would fit in there. But see how big a gap that is? You can weld that. You would bridge it like so. That's going a little deep. But you're a young man, you might cut some bad ones like this. So you would maybe just weld the line over here, and then weld the line over here, and then try to bridge it back and forth, and you're just doing it like this, you know, pulling it like so. Let me say, there's something else I was going to say. There's also different styles, as I mean, people say, you push the weld, you know, so you'd weld this way. Some people say, you bring it back. You know, some people, there's oscillation. You know, I do a weird, it all depends on the application. I would also make a suggestion. I don't know if you're right-handed or left-handed. If you're right-handed, and you should try left-handed too. Now, it's the complete opposite. The only thing I can't train is my eyeball, so I'm a right eye dominant. So that's how I always see, is right eye dominant. But you'll find yourself in places where your right hand working this, how would you call it? In position and out of position. Meaning this is like pretty easy to weld. It'd be easy to weld either way. You know, so, you know, however you want to push or pull. But try both. You start using with both hands. You may find that you're a right-hander, but have more control over it with your left hand. Plus, like I said, I wish I could find a situation to where, you know, running with your right hand or your left hand makes a difference, but it kind of positions you a different way. Let me try to see here. What else could be? See, I'm not very good at explaining, bud. The main thing is, I guess, keeping your hand and your speed at which you move this even. Meaning, you don't go too fast or you don't go too slow. Slow is probably better than fast. You'll waste more wire. It'll build a bigger deal, bigger puddle. And you don't have to have this great big puddle on top. It can be smaller, you know, thinner, or lay down more. Main thing is to get this hot enough that it melts, and that's hot enough that it melts, and preferably would be penetrating the heat almost all the way through. So it's really melting it all. When it comes to any kind of motion, because there's motions. There's back and forth motions like this. There's just figure 8 motions. There's all kinds of different motions that, dude, don't really worry about those at the moment. Just worry about keeping this thing in the middle or staying on the heavy piece and how fast to go. You'll figure it out. The more you practice, the more it'll figure out. Just make sure that it's hot. You can have it too hot, but in my opinion, heat is your friend. So the hotter it is, the better it will weld, you know. So I'm always on the verge of burning through all the time. But I'm used to a little bit bigger. I guess can't say used. I've welded different things, but this is going to be a cruddy video. I would show you running, like how it runs with the thingy, but you can't see it real well, so it's very hard to explain. This would be better where if it was right there with you so that you could do it. But two, since you're starting out, maybe you want to have yourself in a fixed position. You know, like you know, taking your arm. Let's pretend this is the table, or not pretend this table, but pretend this is what we're welding. You might want to take your arm and push it down hard. Well, not hard, but and use your hand, rest anything to maybe use both hands. You know, you maybe bridge it up here to help hold the stinger. But get yourself so that you're not free-handed like this to where it's harder for you to keep steady. Since you're brand new, I would say try to stay hard set, sort of, and just use your wrist. You won't get a very long weld, you know, like preferably it'd be best if you're welding to weld this whole thing in one whop, don't stop. Does that always happen realistically? No. You might say and stop and restart, reposition, you know, and whether you push it or pull it. I'm more of a puller when it comes to this. This is light heat type thing. If you're building like bulldozers or big trailers or something where you're using a big, let's see, what would that be? 45 gauge wire or whatever the heck it is, giant wire. They're giant, and they're going like, oh my god, they're cranked way up there. You know, it's like 250 amps. You know, I mean, you're running real hot. Then there's no such thing as moving back and forth or anything. You know, and you're welding this thick of metal, no bevels, to, let's say, a plate like this. So then it would just be starting here, and you still want to keep in the middle, sort of. You know, but their wire's so big and so much heat that when you go to pushing through, there's no such thing you're not welding it because it just is so hot. Maybe I should have did a live one to where I could actually read the thingy to see what you're saying, or what you could say. But you'd be dealing mainly with this smaller stuff, I'm assuming. Don't know for sure, but I'll just assume. If you were welding, like I said, these two things together, like so, I would, of course, keep this right in the center like that, you know. This angle can determine too, mainly for your gas. It's mainly for your gas. This is a flux core wire, so there's no gas coming out of it. Gas would come out through here to shield this wire to keep porosities, which are little bubbles, little black dot. Here, see if I can find a piece of porosity on this. Okay, there's none on that. I got porosity all the time, all over. I never cleaned those welds off. But that also can make a difference. You know, if you're laying it like this or you're straight up and down. There again, you might be at a spot where you're going, hey, for some reason, this metal doesn't look like it's melting, so you slow down. You slow down to get it to burn in hotter. And then you say, you're going along and saying, ooh, it's getting hot. You might speed up a little bit. Trust me, bud, when you go to do this, you'll do fine. My grandpa used to say, he was a hell of a welder, by the way. I learned mainly from watching him. It's mainly just from watching people. It's anything that I've learned. I'm a little older, so you know there was no computer. There was different books on welding that you can learn, but it gets into more fundamentals. It's not necessarily doing it. It's learning. You might want to look into some welding books. You know, I mean, they definitely can help you. They can definitely help you. They don't hurt by no means. But my grandpa used to say, it doesn't matter how pretty the weld is, as long as it's sticking. So there again, like I say, he is your friend. The hotter it is, the more you're going to be guaranteed that it won't break apart. So don't worry about it being too hot or too cold. If I knew that your machine, I could maybe get you. Hey, here we go. Wait a minute. I've almost forgot. Like my machine has what wire what material you're welding, what wire type you got kind of in here. This is that flex core or gas shielded, and then it shows little things on how big metal you're doing and where you might want to set your settings. That can really help you till you get older and you kind of get used to welding. You know, it sometimes can be a thing you're setting all the time, but like I said, it's a lot of times it's manipulation of this here thing. Manipulation with this, manipulation with your trigger. You may go along and say, I'm about to burn. Mine is, I'll back out of it. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm going along and it's getting too hot and it's about to fall out, I'll pull out. You know, I won't stop welding. Just keep it going. You know, so you're like going, and then you say, oh crap, so, and you swing out. So just like this even, you know, if I was to weld this to this, it'd probably be laying on a solid and staying on this one more than this one, because it'd be harder to burn through here than it is to eat the edge up on that. So I'd stay on this and say, you know, probably lots whipping more. I guess you might call it whipping, you know, where you're, you know, whipping more. I'm not very, like I say, I'm sorry, bud, I'm not very good at maybe saying, but I'll do the best I can, friend. I think that's about all I got. There's some hellacious welders out there that, you know, probably say I'm a monkey when it comes to this. So you might want to check into them. But my best thing I could really say when it comes to welding is, dude, practice. Just practice. Don't be scared, and just practice. And the more you practice, the better you'll get. And then eventually you'll get to where you're the best you're going to get, and then you start making hellacious mistakes. And you'll get to where you're going, well, that looks like butt, but it'll still stick. That's really all there is, bud. Just practice. The main thing, try to keep this at a decent stick out, so you're not sticking that little thing to your piece of metal. Keeping yourself trying to follow a movement. Maybe let's see what else could. Oh, make sure your metal's clean. Will this welder weld this right here? It has I don't know what they got, scalding maybe. I can't think of the term they use now for this metal that has scaling, maybe. I can't think of the term. It has a coating where when they heat rolled it, it's a little flake off crap. Will this weld through there? Yes, it will. Will weld, no problem. Will it weld through this rusty stuff? Yeah, it'll weld, no problem. The problem you'll have is the porosity. It won't be as pretty as a weld, and depending on the porosity, might be a pretty crappy weld. Last welding I did, you had to take tests, and you know, they didn't tolerate lots of porosity. I can't remember. Every test was different, but, you know, there's only X amount loud. Technically, you can't have crap. So this would be a, oh, hell no. You'd make sure this metal looks just like that around your weld area. Any of this, well, I didn't mess with this kind of stuff, but, you know, you don't have to really clean it off. It's just, if you can handle porosity, it's okay. You don't have to worry about it. You probably, you don't have to worry about it. But it gets you in the habit of, if you clean it, gets you in a habit of, when you go into doing something that you want to be pretty, you're already in the habit of cleaning, so you're not welding on crap. Do I weld on this at times? I'm gonna say sure. You know, will I weld this without cleaning it? Yeah. If I was to show you this right now, or technically maybe even just welding something on my products or projects, I'd do it. Like I said, this is probably what you're going to be playing with most, you know, because you got lawnmowers and all, you know, like your lawnmower decks and so forth. They're all going to be this kind of size metal. I mean, if you were to want to try to weld a crack or something, they're really hard. The cracks are really hard. Some of that might just be pulling the trigger and saying spot welding, and then bouncing and spot welding, because when they get rusty and thin, it's near impossible. You can do it, but it's near impossible. And pretty, that gets a little rougher if you want it to be really pretty. That's about all I got for you, man. Why don't you give me some guidance on what you are truly maybe struggling with, or what you may need highlighted, or anything like that, and I'll help you the best I can. Like I said, it's just mainly practice, bud, and then this is the biggest, I'm telling you, the biggest suggestion I could ever give to you, and I'm being dead serious here. Learn both hands. Learn to control this wire with this hand. If you're going to use a stick, like from a stick welder, you know, learn this hand too, because you're going to find a time when your right hand is not in position to where if you could use your left hand, you don't have to try to twist around and get upside down and do some funny thing. You can just switch hands and go like this. Let's just pretend I'm welding this. Okay, well this, if I'm standing right here, can you see that? Maybe you can. I don't know. Hopefully. If I was to weld this, I mean, to me it's become second nature. I've been doing this both hands for, I don't know, quite a while. But let's say from here, I could stand right here, start here, and say, and burn to this half anyway. But I can't get it from here, see that? It won't go. So in order for me to stay right-handed, I have to step to the other side and go. But being able to run left-handed, I can say, and be able to switch it over here and say, and not move. So I'd be able to switch hands, switch sides. It's the same welding. It's mainly a position thing. So suggest, for real, this is the time to do it, because you're struggling, learning how to do it. Go with both hands. Like I said, you might be better with one hand. You're non-dominant. Hi. I don't know what the heck made me sneeze, but excuse me. That's all I got for you, friend. That. Maybe the next thing I'm going to be doing that's welding is that I don't think... I might have some welding on this if I ever get this going. But I can maybe try to show that. It's just so hard with the hood, the lens, you just can't see it. So that's where my production value is not going to be good. Some other people can really show you the glow, so you can literally see it. Like you're seeing in real life, where it's really pretty. Anybody that's watching this that hasn't seen like a super close-up of a puddle of metal, it's really pretty. It's really pretty. I love welding. But it's all I got for you, friend. I hope that helps. Just stay into it as long as, get it hot enough that it isn't blowing through, and move fast enough that you're not burning through. So if I wrap this thing up to 5, it will blow a hole through here. It'll melt it clear through. But with it on 5, let's say, and the speed up, you can just zing right along, you know, and just fly. The lower the heat, the slower you have to go to put it. Like I could weld this here on 2 or 3. I hardly ever go to 1. I don't even know why some of those are there, but you can weld it all the way down on 1. But in order for it to stick, well, it's not going to be a real good weld because this is thick stuff, but you just have to stay there longer to try to get it to burn into this base metal. I know I'm rambling. I'm sorry, buddy. That's all I got for you. Let me know if that helped at all. Be for real. I mean, if it didn't help, don't say it helped. And yeah, just let me know, and we'll try to do something. I don't know what, but just practice, friend. Just practice, practice, practice. Anytime you get a chance, practice. That's all I can say. And maybe when you're practicing with you got the wire well to get the cheapest wire that you can get, because if you're just practicing. Wire, I have found that they're not all the same. Some of them are better than others. And if you can weld with a crappy wire, by the time you get to the good wire, oh my God. The same goes with welders too. Sometimes welders are really, I won't call them junk, but can be really junky and really can be frustrating because they just don't run right. But just don't get discouraged. Just don't get discouraged. Take it easy, everybody. I know this isn't too educational. Some ding-dong turning around and can't figure out how to speak about nothing, but that's the best I can do, bud. Want to say I love y'all, and I hope you have a great and awesome week. And subscribe, and see you on the flip side. Bye.